It was interesting because yesterday I saw this program of experimental shorts, and it was called Compressed Air, and he was talking about how it was the can of compressed air that's blowing all the dust out of the little crevices, and I feel like the art component of this festival does that to people's brains, where you're not just watching the normal everyday narrative stuff and documentaries, but that you're being expanded and you're having the compressed air blasting out the crevices of your brain.
And you're seeing so much of it too that, like, I feel like people who aren't used to seeing, so much stuff that isn't like standard going in a theater in a dark room,
Sure.
watch stuff are like more, like I heard that the experimental program, like not a single person left. It was like completely packed. It was really like strange stuff, and like everyone like stuck around, which is...
Yes, there were some confused people after the program, but it was also, I feel like the experimental work and music that has different genres, like live music, films or videos with accompaniment, has a way to break through to people's ways of thinking make you think about things in a different way, because you're seeing things presented in a different way.
Yeah, with that confusion sparks discussion, but I love that feeling of just really losing myself in something like that, and that's why I really respond to multimedia work.
I want to say something about
Sure, yes, please.
I want to say something about spontaneity, which is, as a filmmaker, it's hard to be spontaneous when your work is being presented, but when you bring in musicians or other like live parts of it, then it adds a real-time element that isn't existing in the film world usually.
Is that part of what's so exciting about the four of you to collaborate? Is that spontaneity?
It's part of it. I think like one thing that feels like really great about this kind of thing is like film feels like such a solitary, watching a normal film feels like a really solitary experience. You're in like a dark room, even if it's completely packed and the film is great. You feel pretty alone sitting there watching it. And this, everything is lit better because people are they want to look at the band, they want to and so you can see the audience, you can see how people are reacting to it in a way that feels like a lot more like communal and like a much more of like a shared experience than like a normal film. And so that's the thing about like this type of collaboration, I think it is pretty cool for me.
And also that it's like a one-of-a-kind happening that only the people in that room are going to experience together. So it's this very special moment that you people who don't come to our show are not going to get to see.
How do you all stay inspired within your work? Or how do you seek inspiration?
I read a lot and go out to hear music a lot and meld those two together frequently.
All right.
I try to work with a lot of different people
Mm-hmm.
and get ideas just moving quickly through what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all of us work in like a lot of different capacities, like in different people's projects. So we're like being engaged and like, like everyone like is painting and and
I'm not painting.
well, all right. Well, I shouldn't. All right, everyone was the wrong word there. But I don't remember what I was going to say.
So you feel that atmosphere and what you're around has an effect on your work. Do you think that finding your work really is more of a process of place rather than like a place of mind? It's kind of an abstract question,
I don't think you can separate place and mindset. I think those are always interacting in whatever place you find yourself, in whatever mindset you are in.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and that's what I love about these kind of works, is it really just breaks the boundaries of your mind. You think of a painter has a canvas. It's like they're just, confined to what that canvas is, but this really like broadens everything, and you have just like an overload of sight and sound. So do all of you see your work in a relation to cinema in some way?
Sure. I can't believe you guys don't paint. Do you just not have paints? Do you want some?
Try to come over and try painting with me.
Like the cinema stuff, like I feel like, at least for me, like you just sort of make things, and then whatever sort of venue it fits in, they show it. So like,
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Some subjects just call for this medium and some for that medium.
And yeah, the curators and programmers will tell you where it fits. So like, like I'll make some things and it'll only show in museums and galleries, and then I'll make other things and like, it'll show it like whatever, like film festivals primarily. Like, and I don't understand the difference myself. Like, like I can never tell where it's going to end up fit.
Okay.
I don't think it's important for the creator to know the venue or the audience while things are being made. I think that's actually a distraction. So I agree with you. Like, you just make, whether it's music or film or painting that everyone but me does. And then it's kind of up to critics and curators and programmers to place work in the larger culture.
Yeah, that feels right, yeah.
Do you all ever think about how it's going to be, your work is going to be perceived, or do you have to let that just go, like from the audience, like interpretation?
Well, I mean, there's different versions of that.
Sure.
Like, perceived in like a huge intellectual way, that isn't particularly important to me. But like, I do really want people to be engaged and like kind of entertained, and so I do think about that, where I'm like, if I'm making something and I'm like, they're not going to be in love with this piece until like 9 minutes in, I'm like, that's too long. It has to have like a joke or some like wild thing, something that happens before it to like get the audience really into it. And I think about that because you want people have a ton of things to do, and I want to value their time and make sure that I'm like delivering something worth delivering and making people get people to be interested in hearing it.
Yeah, I think it's really important to think about time and to leave the audience wanting more, and not like you clobbered them over the head and they're like, oh my God, when can I get out of here?
Right.
So that would be one thing that I definitely am thinking about, how the audience is perceiving. But in terms of like, I make a lot of short films and I'll put maybe 12 of them together to create a 70-minute program, and I'll put a roller coaster ride of like super just lyrical with music pieces, and then some with talking, and some funny, some really heavy, and just kind of make this ride that brings them along, and then also make it so that it's always like 80 minutes would be the most. Like, you can't do experimental films for longer than that. That's even too long, and it's like cruel to the audience, I think. Because it's so many different ideas coming, it's very hard to take it in. But you really have to think about wanting people to leaving them with wanting more is very important.
So, Houston is known for NASA, oil and gas, but as a testament to this conversation today, we have a pool of artists that come into this city, and there's a really thriving community here. What has been your impression of Houston thus far?
I really liked the Lyft riders that I've been having conversations with. I haven't seen much of Houston because I've been really involved in this film festival. The Menil, seeing the art there is always a really special thing. She told me about a James Turrell installation that's at the Rice that we're going to go try to check out at sunset today. The Funeral Museum, we're going to go check out. The Funeral Museum. So it's more just been art and festival centered for me. So, and Lyft drivers who were more like the real Houston, I think.
But I've done
downtown's weird though, man.
Yes,
Downtown is a weird place.
I've done a bunch of things here. I've had like solo show at Diverse Works, and I've shown other things there, and like have worked at the Aurora Picture Show and done shows at the Orange Show, and I have weirdly my family like kind of one by one moved down here, so I have like a brother and my mom, my grandma are down here, so like I come around and see things, and like the Houston art scene is like genuinely like incredible. Like, not just like you said, there's like artists coming in, but like there's also a really wild art scene like just here, like really good. Yeah,
I love Houston. I feel like doing shows here, I like coming from Austin to Houston, and you're supposed to like Austin, and I think it's terrible there in Houston. I don't have like good shows here, but they're always really weird, in a really nice way of just being like, oh, like right now I'm talking to 10 people who are vastly different. You know, I don't know, just like in a very refreshing way.
And then later we can get like separate audio you saying, and Austin is fine. We can dub that over. whatever.
Austin is fine. I'm not saying anything. I mean, it's okay. I'm just saying that I think Houston's a better place.
Thank you.
Not just.
Well, this
And it's
concludes
true,
our-
I did do a show at the Aurora back when it used to
Yeah.
be in the church.
Yeah.
Long time ago, and so that was like one of the first micro cinemas that I really was in, and that's been going such a long time. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank y'all for y'all's time. This
Yeah.
is great.
Thank you.
I'm feeling inspired.